Neverness 2 Everness is an open-world gacha game with an urban life setting, and it's set to launch by the end of April this year. Now, I want to address the concerning amount of news that's giving emphasis on the idea that NTE is the anime GTA that people have been waiting for, which, to be fair, is correct to a certain degree. However, if I were to put it into numbers, then I'd say that this is only about 35% true, and that's already me being generous with the percentage. I think this needs to be brought up as early as now to set proper expectations of what the game is really all about. The last thing I'd want to see is people expressing their disappointment thinking that the game is anime GTA at its core, only to find out that it's not GTA enough. Hello everyone, this is Touch Me Not, and in this video I'm going to show you the contents to this mystery box of a game called Neverness to Everness. I've put tons of hours into the beta test this time around to the point that the game itself kept showing warnings of some sort. If only I wasn't a gacha gamer and knows how to read, then that might have served its purpose, but still, nice try devs. Anyways, as someone who've pretty much swept the available content for this test, I can say with confidence that at its current state, this game is not the anime GTA that people are hyping it up to be. It's actually more than just that. Parts of NTE does exhibit a resemblance to the franchise, but that's not everything the game has to offer. Before we start, it's important to know that NTE revolves around the concept of anomalies, which are objects or life forms that gain consciousness thanks to human emotions, stories, or experiment. They have certain levels of awareness, and while some of them are hostile, others can coexist with humans as well. This alone sets the game apart from the usual city life because the world of NTE is filled with supernatural events and you'll encounter them on a day-to-day basis. You could say that this is what's common in this world, which is also a perfect excuse for any game bugs that we encounter. You ever see a car suddenly disappear into thin air? What about an NPC that gets swallowed by the ground or walls? Just say that it's the work of an anomaly and call it a day. Since I've already brought it up, let's start with the GTA-like stuff in the game. We can buy our own, borrow or steal vehicles from NPCs, and wreaking havoc in the overworld increases our wanted level. The bad stuff you can actually do aside from stealing is limited to attacking civilians and police officers. They are immortal and won't die no matter how much you hit them, and you'll just phase through their bodies if you try to run them over. Unlike the great amount of thugs that you can actually find and eliminate all over the map. Doing so will be considered a good deed, and you will be given fortune cookies that can be used to either exchange for some items at any police station, or you can simply eat them to lower your wanted level. Raising your wanted level increases the extremity of actions the police force will rely on to arrest us. At maximum wanted level or 4 stars, the Justice Executioner, which is a max level boss anomaly, will drag you to an instance where you'll be forced to fight it. Failure to defeat the executioner or getting captured beforehand will result in us being detained in a faraway prison. Now, the prison itself is a whole different content because there are 7 ways to get out, 4 of which involves breaking out of the prison, so there's actually multiple actions we can take while inside. 2 of them are the boring methods, which is to either pay the fine or wait until the detention period ends. The last option is to just skip everything and fast travel back to the city. Another similarity with GTA would be the apartments or mansions that we can buy. These houses ranges from thousands to millions, and we can buy furniture for interior design. Last and not least, we have a repeatable game mode called Paint Pause Heist, where we can conduct a bank heist. The concept is pretty straightforward. We go inside the bank and start grabbing valuables while trying to avoid traps and security. The stage itself is the same every run, however the placement and spawn rate of items are random, so it's important to know the layout of the whole floors. There are places where you will be forced to fight some guards, and there's also a hidden boss at the deepest and most secure location of the vault. And that's pretty much it for the contents that's quite similar to what GTA does. Moving forward, I'll be showing other stuff you can do in the game. Let's start with city commissions. These are mini game modes where we can spend our weekly city stamina to get cash rewards. The in-game cash or funds, as they name it, is a very important currency because you can buy pretty much anything with funds. Properties, furniture, shops, vehicles, character skins, items, upgrade materials, and we can even exchange it for a little bit of premium gacha currency. The income is very scarce at the beginning, so doing the commissions does help even by a little bit. At number 1, we have city delivery, where we drive Tycoon to deliver high schoolers into another world. I'm just kidding, it's your usual go from point A to point B as fast as you can type of missions, and the truck is quite heavy, so that affects your driving too. Weather is also a factor to consider when driving because rain and snow makes the road slippery, and without car modifications, the driving experience is going to be a problem. Collisions during your travel will result in damaged goods, and that will be deducted to your overall pay, so make sure to drive as careful as you can. Number 2 is racing using cars we own, so stealing a car from an NPC and bringing it to the race is not possible. As of the COEX test, the NPCs didn't really pose any sort of challenge during these races, so I think this could use a little bit of work. Multiplayer with friends and online matchmaking is a thing, so there's that as well. Number 3 is owner's selection, where you yourself serve the customers at your cafe. At number 4, there's swift travel, or basically Uber gameplay, where we use our car to pick up random people and bring them to their destination. Same with city delivery, collisions will lessen your passenger's patience meter, which affects your overall pay and star rating, so make sure to be swift but also careful at the same time. Number 5 is the very same pink boss heist that we've covered earlier. Just some additional information about the game mode is that this is one of the contents where we can get a large sum of funds since the loot limit per week is 1 million. Each run does not cost any city stamina, so we can actually spam this one until we reach the limit. The next 3 are fishing at specific spots, mahjong inside a maid cafe, and playing Tetris in the arcade, which I believe does not need any explanation, so let's move on to the last city commission, which is Super Sound. This minigame is located at a bar called Star Sign, and we can only play during the bar's non-business hours. It's a basic rhythm game where we play drums, and I think this one is ping-based because I kept missing the notes for some reason. By the way, we can also play the piano in this game by either buying one and placing it at your apartment or finding a wild piano at the beach. Now, I'm not really sure if you can actually play a song with the available keys, but I'd bet 10,000 fonts that some mad lad will take this seriously and start doing their own concerts. Moving on to other city establishments, and speaking of bets, there is an auction house in this city where we can get valuable items such as upgrade materials or furniture. Normally there are 3 competitors for the item, and you can just wait until 2 out of the 3 drops out before you place your bid. Don't be too impatient and aura farm the NPCs by bidding millions at the very start, because once that timer hits 0, there will be no takebacks or refunds. We also have the museum that exhibits antiques and even anomalies. In fact, there's this anomaly that allows us to relive certain stories and become part of the cast to reach the ending. I'd rather not spoil anything because it's best if you guys experience this content yourself. Next is the Tower of... tower that we can climb to get a clear view of the entire city. Other spots of interest are the Nakopedas Pool and Great Tree, where we can pray or wish for good gacha rolls. There's actually too many places to go, like all kinds of shops, convenience stores, restaurants, shopping streets, parks, a plaza, train stations, witch's house, campsite, school campus, the hospital, and even a cinema theater. The game itself feels like a bundle of movies with how it covers all kinds of genres. Action and adventure goes hand to hand in an anime open world RPG, and since the game focuses on the supernatural, that checks the box for a lot of categories as well. We do get light comedy from the main story, drama from some of the side quests which I personally enjoyed, and there's literally a school campus that we can access, so let's add school life to the list. At this very same campus, there's the usual trope of gossips about moving mannequins appearing at nighttime, and given the game's nature, the rumors shaped into reality, and we have to solve the mystery to catch these playful anomalies. Believe it or not, there is a repeatable content showcasing mild horror as well. The game mode takes place at the hospital, and you can either play alone or go in with your friends. Other anomaly commissions are also set in creepy or very unsettling stages. Lastly is the bond system in the game, which allows up to a certain level of intimacy with playable characters. We can set them as partners and trigger all sorts of interactions, like having them join you for a ride or inviting them to move into your apartment. Some of these can also be done by purchasing the required furniture, but most of them can be unlocked by increasing the character's bond level. Aside from this, there's also the bond stories, which are special encounters. If you go to a character you see on the map, then you can trigger a short dialogue, sometimes even a cutscene with said character. There's also a possibility for a random encounter with the characters. I was able to find 13 of them in total before the coex test ended, but there should be at the very least 6 more encounters that I wasn't able to find because there are certain conditions to meet before they appear on their set locations. By the way, there's also an option to play in first-person view, which is really awesome in terms of immersion. This used to be a bug that people discovered on the second beta testing. However, both the testers and devs found it to be a great feature, so they decided to keep it in the game. Not to mention, the amount of anime and movie references in this game is just absurd. Honestly, this game will test how much of a weeb you are because there are times when I see something obviously different or strange in the overworld and I'll end up thinking that it's another reference for something, but I just can't prove it. Moving on, let's talk about anomaly encounters. While there are some one-time encounters during the main story or side quests, most of the anomalies in the game can be found in the overworld. Since they are based from day-to-day objects or different creatures, I'm sure you'll be surprised with the different types on your first playthrough. Some example of common anomalies would be vending machines, trash cans, record players, street lamps, kites, graffiti, or even these umbrella men that will bring you to a mirror dimension when you interact with their umbrellas. Aside from the common anomalies, there are also the ones that have a commission issued by the Bureau of Anomaly Control. Some of these are your usual bounty hunts, but the others involve puzzle solving or boss fights, so they will require a bit more effort. As previously mentioned, some of the anomalies are harmless, so you will find a few of them blending in with society as well. Apart from the ones mentioned, there's also the annoying mosquitoes and the raccoons or maybe red pandas. These guys really like to play pranks on people, so we kind of teach them a lesson every now and then. The neat part about anomalies is that after beating them, there's a possibility to contain or basically catch them and turn them into equipable arcs or what's considered as weapons in the game. Now let's not forget about the Tycoon system where we buy, own and manage our own shops. As of the coex test, there's only 5 available spots that we could unlock and they're all cafes, so I hope we get to manage other types of shops in the future. The way it works is pretty simple. We start by heading over to the location of a shop that we can purchase, then we start hiring staff that will handle the business for us. Our job as the owner is to come up with the menu and restock ingredients to make the dishes that we will be selling. There are 2 ways to do that. First one is to shop for the ingredients yourself, or the other option is instant delivery, which will cost a little bit more thanks to the delivery fee. That's the basics to have your business up and running, but there's also other factors to consider like increasing traffic by decorating your shops and unlocking character life skills that will help boosting your sales. Next is going to be the combat. Honestly, I didn't really pay much attention to the combat system because I was busy doing all sorts of random stuff and I wasn't really having trouble with progression even though I was just doing whatever for my rotations. All I know is that there are normal attack chains, skill, ultimate skill, dodge, parry, and the elemental reaction. Currently, there are 6 elements in the game and each elements have another element they synergize with. There's also the addition of triple elemental reactions, which can only be pulled off if all the conditions are met. In a nutshell, combat goes something like hit, skill or ultimate, dodge and parries in between, then once the icon of other characters glow, swap to them then rinse and repeat. Like I said, combat and team building didn't really felt that important due to the volume of content that you can rather spend your time on, and currently the only content where maximizing damage output is required would be Beyond the Rails, which is your typical defeat all enemies within a certain amount of time. Then let's proceed to character progression. No need for a deep dive for now, so just to give you an idea, this is where the RNG nightmare starts. You see, aside from upgrading our characters' levels, stars, weapons, and skills, there's also the console feature where we equip our characters with cartridges and modules. Modules are Tetris blocks that gives bonus stats and cartridge grants certain effects depending on its attribute. The main source of these equipables is a farmable dungeon or instance which requires pixels or in-game stamina for each clear. Drop rates are obviously RNG and the stats you get are also RNG. Finally, let's talk about the gacha. The gacha itself is designed as a board minigame and it's quite fun to watch for a couple pool sessions. Let's not bring up the gacha rates yet because it was obviously rigged on the beta test, but just to keep you up to speed, NTE's banners does not have 50-50 and you can guarantee the limited character within 90 pools. The rates for an S-rank character will start ramping up at the 70th mark, and rolling a certain amount of time grants bonus perks like glider, vehicle, or character skins. By the way, as you roam around the city, you will also find toy shops where we can get plushies or toy figures from either claw machines or gachapons. That's right, a gacha game inside a gacha game. Color me surprised. I think Neverness to Everness brings a lot to the table and will attract plenty of players due to the amount of genres and categories they're trying to squeeze into the game. I do play their other game, Tower of Fantasy, so I'm aware of how bold Hota Studios is with their mini-games and experiments. Although it's using Unreal Engine 5, so there's bound to be lots of limitations, but let's see how they cook their optimization. Now that you've seen the stuff that NTE has to offer, what do you guys think? Will you be giving this game a chance?